Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about the 100 days plan to MBA CET. We are going to structure this in three parts. The first part will deal with what do you do in the first 30 days, then the next 30 days, and what do you do in the last 40 days. So let's get started. Now let's understand what do you do in the first 30 days. In the first 30 days, you're largely going to spend your time learning the core concepts. So you need to understand the concepts really well. Whatever are the core concepts for every topic, whether it is quant, logical reasoning, data interpretation, verbal ability, RC, or visual reasoning. You have to master the core concepts really well, because then only you will be able to apply them faster when you are under time pressure. Start solving under time pressure. That is going to be the next very important thing, because whenever you are practicing, a lot of times you tend to solve without understanding how much time you are taking. But CET is a game of speed and you have to get faster, and that is why get used to solving under time pressure. So whenever you're practicing at home, even if it is offline questions, make sure that you have a timer next to you and you're trying to identify how much time you're spending on every question that you're solving. As you solve more and more questions, you'll also start understanding what are the areas of strength and areas of improvement that you have. So there will be some topics that you are naturally good at. There will be some topics where you are struggling a little bit. And whenever you identify this and you are actually solving this during the test, whether it is a practice test or a full length paper, you will be able to stay away from the topics that are your areas of improvement, or at least you will play with a little bit of caution. And that is why understanding strength and area of improvement is very, very important. You definitely have a lot of time ahead of you. So whenever you identify any area of improvement, you also need to start working on improving that area. So strengthen your strengths, but also don't forget to work on the areas of improvement, because there's a common mistake that happens. Whenever students like a particular topic, they keep solving it, and something that they don't enjoy, they keep it aside. Don't make that mistake. One of the most important things is also to maintain a separate formula book for yourself. And you can also write your notes. So whenever you are learning a topic, whether it is a new topic or you're attending a live session, attending a classroom session, whenever you come across anything that is new, make sure that you make a note of it somewhere, because your revision cannot happen without going back to the topics. But at the same time, you cannot go through the entire topic and solve every single question out there. That is why make concise notes, so that when you go back to a particular topic, you will be able to understand it very, very quickly. And lastly, in these first 30 days that you have, don't forget to take a few mocks at least. Doesn't matter how much you score, the effort definitely matters. And please don't get very upset even if you get a low score. That's completely fine, that's normal, but don't do random marking. This is a very common mistake that students make, that they believe that because there's no negative marking, let me do all 200 questions, let me mark randomly. But when you're in the first 30 days, you have to understand what your problem areas are. That is why don't do random marking for the first few mocks at least. It could be first 5 mocks, it could be first 10 mocks that you take, but don't do any random marking. And only once you start realizing what are the problem areas for you and you start fixing them, then you are in a position to do the random marking. In the last 40 days, that is when you actually start doing the random marking. But we also have the middle 30 days. So let's now understand what do you do in these 30 days. So day 31 onwards is going to be interesting, because the first 30 days you have spent a lot of time understanding the core concepts. And now there are some topics that you have comfort with. There are some topics which are still troubling you. So that is what you'll have to do now. So the focus starts shifting towards practicing and taking tests. So if there are any remaining topics, if there are some topics which you found very difficult in the first 30 days that you were not able to understand, then start working on these topics very quickly. Try to finish them off as early as possible. Also, this is the time period when you actually start analyzing the test. Maybe in the first 30 days, you've taken, let's say, only 2 mocks or 4 mocks, and they have just given you an indication of where you stand at this point of time. But now, once you have completed the initial 30 days, a lot of topics you would have already covered. And now is the time to actually start analyzing your test to identify what are the trouble topics for me. For example, when I was a student like you guys, one of the trouble topics for me was critical reasoning. So after I took a several number of mocks, I realized that that is a problem area. So let me now start working on it. So identify the trouble topics for you and then practice more questions. So this is where you're going to do a lot of selective effort. So you identify an area, you solve more questions of that particular area, and then convert an area of improvement to a strength. Now, when you're taking mocks during this period, continue to solve without random marking. But at the same time, you will now start putting some targets for yourself in terms of the number of attempts and the possible accuracy that you should have. So with every mock, you should try to make some incremental change in your strategy or aim for a higher score. It could be as low as I just want to solve 5 more questions, or I want to get maybe 5 more questions correct. But you need to keep that target and work towards it. And lastly, in these 30 days, you also need to revise the things that you had done, not only in the first 30 days, but also anything new that you would have covered in these 30 days. So make sure that you plan some time, keep that time aside for revision of all the topics. And that brings us to the last 40 days. And this is the time period which is going to create the maximum impact because this is the test taking period. So in the last 40 days, the focus is entirely on taking tests. You have solved a lot of questions, you have practiced a lot of problems, but now your focus has to be on test taking strategy. So the first thing that you will have to do is increase the frequency of test. Just by taking more number of tests, you will go through more number of questions, and that will increase your exposure, eventually helping you in the final test. I have made a detailed video on how you analyze a test. So make sure that you have a look at that video as well. But thorough analysis of your test taking strategy, including the mindset that you had. So while you were solving a particular area, what was the mindset? Did you get scared by a particular LR set that appeared? Or did you waste too much time on a data interpretation set? Start thinking about what is it that is stopping you from achieving your potential score. And that also includes your mindset, right? So make sure that you analyze not only your strategy as to how much time you spend on which particular question, but also figure out whether the mindset was correct or not in the first place. Also, don't be afraid to experiment. The initial few mocks that you take, you need to experiment with different strategy. So maybe, for example, one strategy that you have, especially if it is, let's say, a sectional paper, is to change the section order and see if that creates an impact. Or if, let's say, it is a jumbled paper, then maybe identifying the easy questions and doing them in the first round, and then moving towards the medium questions and then eventually difficult questions, or skipping questions of particular type as you go along. So there could be different strategies that you might want to play with in the beginning, but eventually you will have to figure out a strategy that works for you. You'll have to understand what question should I attempt, what question should I not attempt as you go along. And the entire mock test taking experience is just that. It is to help you prepare and identify what is the best strategy that you can have on the D day. And even if that strategy doesn't work, because you have taken so many papers, you would know how to handle such eventualities. As I said, the last few mocks that you take, it could be 6 mocks, 8 mocks, 10 mocks, whatever is the number that you think is appropriate. Make sure that you take the last whatever mocks, including random marking, because now you need to get used to marking all 200 questions. In CET, there's no negative marking. So you have to come out of the test hall after you have marked all 200 questions, and you should get accustomed to doing that. So whatever mocks that you take at the end, it could be whatever number, it could be even the last 5 mocks, but you have to mark all 200 questions. And lastly, nothing beats the visualization and positive attitude. This entire period, you have to think as if you are going to achieve the objective that you have started with. Maybe it is getting into JBIMS, maybe it is getting a certain score. You have to ensure that your mindset is positive throughout this period. Stay away from negative people. There would be a lot of people who will say that you will not be able to do this. There would be a lot of distractions. So the next 100 days, you have to maintain the right mindset, and also visualizing a successful outcome for you is very, very important. So this is how you're supposed to structure the next 100 days. I'm sure there are a lot of things to talk about, but I wanted to make a quick video, a short video, which will, in a very concise manner, tell you what you are supposed to do in these 100 days. I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you guys have. So feel free to put a comment and I'll get back to you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Wish you guys all the best.